Okay, then good morning to everyone. I am Abdullah Shkeli. I'm coming from Sultanate of Oman. I'm the Executive Director of the Entrepreneurship Center. University of Nizwa is one of the non-profit organizations in Oman, which has been started in 2004.
Wonderful, thank you. Rona.
Good morning, and as we start here in Naarm, which is the name of the land that we're on, the traditional owners of the Kulin Nation here. Welcome to Melbourne. Welcome to Naarm. I'm Professor Rowena Barrett. I'm the Pro Vice Chancellor Entrepreneurship at QUT, Queensland University of Technology in Brisbane, where the days are a lot sunnier than they can be here in Melbourne.
Fantastic, and thank you, Sunday.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Sunday Adebisi from Nigeria. I'm a professor of entrepreneurship and strategic management. I'm equally the first occupier professor of the Dr. Mike Adenuga Professorial Chair in Entrepreneurial Study. I drive entrepreneurship ecosystem in Nigeria and in Africa from the director of the Arua Center of Excellence for Unemployment and Skill Development. My job is to ensure that all African youth are gainfully employed.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Just as I said a second ago, just a couple of slides and a few minutes from each of us just to get the discussion going. So as I said, I'm Tim from the Centre for Entrepreneurs. We are the UK's leading entrepreneurship-focused charity and think tank. We develop original research, much as university and as other think tanks do, but we try and do it in a way that can be applied. So rather than thinking of things that get published in nice glossy documents and left on a shelf, we develop programs based on our research in order to help develop the entrepreneurial economy in the UK. We study topics such as incubators and accelerators. So we produced a report last year that identified 840 incubators and accelerators in the UK, probably the most over-accelerated entrepreneurial ecosystem in the world. And a methodology that has interestingly just been picked up by New South Wales, and I don't think it's Queensland. There's another state that is currently using it in order to sort of assess their incubation and entrepreneurship work. We look at areas like refugee entrepreneurship, on which we did a session yesterday in here, and prisoners and so on, and particularly underrepresented communities in entrepreneurship support programs. I mention all of that because part of what we've been doing recently is trying to come up with a slightly different way of explaining the role of universities and indeed the different types of entrepreneurial activity for a way that works for policymakers. And for many of those of you who've interacted with the policymakers and the ministerial delegations that have been here over the last few days, you'll know that that's something that they care about. And there's broadly, as many models have, 4 types of entrepreneurial activity that we should refer to, which is relevant to the different types of entrepreneurial ecosystems you might see. So there's survival entrepreneurship, people basically creating companies because they don't have any choice, or just creating their own entrepreneurial activity. And that might be something as everyday as the guys who come to wash the windscreen of your car when you pull up at traffic lights, through to things that they've otherwise been driven to do, perhaps because they don't have many qualifications and they can't get hired, or whatever else it might be. There are lifestyle entrepreneurs, the people who are doing things where they have a choice, a variety of other things they could be doing, but they're starting businesses that are really things that they're opting to do, things that might be arts-based or craft-based, things to do with travel or different types of coaching, a whole load of other activities. They tend not to be businesses that grow, they tend to be personal, they tend to be services, but they're things that people choose to do. Then there are the builders of businesses, people who have standard businesses you'd see in almost any country of the world, people running businesses to make bricks, to dig out aggregate, to run taxi firms, things where it's really about the execution of the business that makes it different. And then finally, you have the growers, the people with the high potential, investable companies in many cases where there's a huge amount of innovation. And the role of universities, in a very simplified way, grows with each of those types. There is less role for a university interaction with the survivors, historically, going right the way through to the way that the very high innovation and often research-intensive growers might operate. And so there are different types of companies, and all of those exist in most entrepreneurial ecosystems, with the largest numbers usually being the builders in anything except the most extreme cases, where the critical role of universities is often to provide skills, skilled workers and skilled outlets for what happened, as opposed to necessarily being the outcomes for research. And much of the last part of this, the growers, has been particularly developed in a model that some of you may be familiar with by MIT called REAP. Does anybody put your hand up if you know MIT's REAP activity? Okay, fantastic. Keep your hand up if you have been on a REAP cohort. There you go. Okay. So REAP is the regional entrepreneurial acceleration program developed at MIT as a sort of training program or a convening program, if you like, for regional ecosystems. And they bring together players from each of the things, from each of the areas that are kind of critical to the development of specifically of innovation-based ecosystems, those bits that I was calling growers a second ago, where you have individual entrepreneurs, you have providers of capital, you have big businesses, you have government institutions, and you critically have universities as a place where these kind of activities are often started or enabled by the research, by the training, by the capabilities that exist within an ecosystem. But to put it into context, much beyond what people normally think that universities are for. In the most developed ecosystems, universities are critical for the level of business support they provide. There is at least one survey that came out about 2 weeks ago that suggests that 50% of all small business support in Europe is provided by universities or university-affiliated programs. So there is a critical role in not just thinking of, we're teaching people or we spin out companies, but all of the activities, some of which I know are represented in this room today, about how things work together. And in the REAP model, you see some of that in how programs are brought together. So you have the sort of foundational layer of what institutions do and the ability to provide an operating environment in which companies can live. You have the innovation capital, that's the ICAP in this model, the ability to go and do something innovative and new. You have the entrepreneurial capacity, which is the ability to find entrepreneurs who can actually do things. And they come together to do something original, to provide something here of comparative advantage between ecosystems. And that provides impact. And impact here is a shorthand for growth and development and jobs and new products and all the things that we wonderfully want to see. And I'm rushing through all of this, and if you want a simple version of what that is, you can scan this QR code, which will give you one of the MIT papers that kind of tries to put together a scoring model for different entrepreneurial ecosystems. So in the context of what we're going to talk about this morning, we're thinking about those different types of businesses and the fact that different types of entrepreneurs need different things from universities, and universities can provide them with different types of offers. And we're thinking not in particular about some of the top end and the innovation-led attitudes as well. So if any of that was interesting, please feel free to email me and we can chat some more. But the most important thing is to hear from our three panelists about what their institutions are doing. And with that, I will hand over the clicker to Abdullah. Abdullah, thank you. Round of applause, please.
Okay, then thank you so much, Timmy, for this informative presentation and for this description about that model. Because that I'm coming from Oman, and Oman, we have just started launching like this entrepreneurship center, which the main things is to how to promote the culture of entrepreneurship in our students. As we are teaching entrepreneurship course, just recently we started from 2014 or 2015. So each year we help more than 1,000 students to develop their business model and as well to develop their business plan in order to commercialize their business idea and help them to start their businesses. So we also recently started the incubation unit, and we have the government started recently also to promote the concept of scientific incubator as one of the program inside the university in order to encourage the students who have an innovative idea, who have a research output from the researcher in order to start a business, or also for the university to spin off. All of these things can help the students exactly in our universities in order to think about the culture of the entrepreneurship. And the university, they do a lot of ecosystems in order to nurture the students to start their businesses. So what I would like to say today is about what are the main indicator and the measurement of the university entrepreneurial ecosystem. And as we know that the ongoing changes in university systems is considered as an impact of the social and economic change, and also in order to adapt to the world transformation. We all understand that the universities has an impact in the economic growth and the social welfare. And also we believe that the university, they should change their systems from the traditional method of creating the knowledge or transferring the knowledge to more than this, to commercialize the idea and also to help in the regional development. So nowadays we have the concept of what we call the fourth generation of university, or what is called also nowadays in the literature, the entrepreneurial universities. Those university, or those entrepreneurial university, the main aim of the role of those is to support and accelerate economic and social growth through a lot of network and collaboration and partnerships. And they need also to transfer the business idea, they transfer the patent, the innovation, in order to commercialize those things from the university camp outside and reach the market. And this can be through the knowledge production, technology development, launch of startups, and deployment of communication network. In that sense, we cannot say also the university only just this is their main role. The main role also of the university is to promote the business thinking, as well to create the institutions inside the university, and also creating the venture capital. So turning any business idea from the university to outside the camp is not an easy process. It needs a lot of effort. And we know that universities are the hub of the knowledge, ideas, talent, people. We have a lot of graduation projects. We have a lot of ideas, patents, which is coming from the university lab or university camp. But the process of turning this and commercialize this business idea is not an easy process, especially in the innovation. So we need exactly to look to the internal ecosystem of the university, and in order to see how those internal ecosystems inside the university, they can help in the development of the regional. And we know that the universities are one of the main factors inside the ecosystem. And universities, they link between different factors inside the ecosystem. And when we see that the role of the university in the human development and the entrepreneur is not the outflow of the ecosystem, no, it is one of the factors inside the ecosystem. And as Tim mentioned before, that we should care about those systems inside the universities. And this is just based on many studies and based on the literature review. We can see that how we can analyze the university entrepreneurial ecosystems. And it can be based on different factors. And one of those is based on the entrepreneurship leadership, about the education and training, access to finance, the research and development transfer, the policies and guidelines, the market, and as well the support activities and programs inside university. This is exactly how we can evaluate these ecosystems inside the university. And when we look to some indicators and some measurement, how we can see these indicators, they applied or not. So first of all, look to the strategic plan inside the university. Do they have a vision, mission, the values are exactly mentioned well and they stated well in the strategic plan, operation plan of the university? What are the policy and the guidelines, the funding programs, the administrative support, and the engagement of the universities to the industry? Those, they can exactly, if we apply like these things, we can see that this is how can the university, they have a leadership for the entrepreneurship. The second thing, as I mentioned before, that university, they have to create institutions inside their camp. And one of those main things is to create a fund. They cannot depend on the tuition fees, or they cannot depend on the education services fees. So we need to create like sufficient fund we can, and as we see the discussion in the last days in the conference, we have seen that they mention about the angel investors. And yesterday, for instance, we have a good example from the Monash University. They're creating a fund, innovation fund. So we need to create like this fund, and we need to look to some potential investors. We need to promote the culture of investing in the startups, especially in the university's startups. So how can the university also be able to make this link? As well as we know that in the university, we have the academic curriculum. Yesterday also they mentioned about the vocational programs and these training programs, how those also they can promote the culture of entrepreneurship inside the university campus. And one of the main indicators also how the ability and the capability of the university to transfer their knowledge outside the camp, and how can they can reach to the market. And we have a good examples from some universities about their spin-off and how they are also able to establish a new businesses and to start a business from their innovative and the patents and the things and the knowledge which is created inside the camp. The main things also to have some centers and support centers, and we can say about the innovation and entrepreneurship center, the incubation center, accelerator fund, and also the technology park. All of these, they can help in order to build the ecosystem inside the university. And as well, we need to look to the market, how the connection between the university and the industry in order to promote these kind of ideas. And finally, the policies and the guidelines, and these are some of the policies that we need inside the university. And I think there are some barriers which still inside the university in order to commercialize and to transfer the knowledge outside the university. And one of the main critical point is about how they able to create a fund and access to the finance, as well as we see yesterday in one of the panel discussions is about how to also have some academic curriculum and some programs which are aiming to promote this kind of culture inside the university. This is what I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. Could you just pass it on to Irene? We'll go straight on.
Lovely. Thank you. I think the question really is, what's the role of universities in entrepreneurial ecosystems? It's like, well, what isn't the role of universities in an entrepreneurial ecosystem? The thing about universities is no matter how you seek to understand ecosystems, it could be as a set of actors and factors, it could be around leaders and feeders. We know, I'm sure those of you who are aware of the literature understand those terms, or it could be through the MIT way of, what are the institutional foundations, what are the capacities around entrepreneurial and innovation capacities. No matter which way you choose to understand an ecosystem, universities have a critical role to play within them. And some of that is around the production of talent that happens, of course, out of universities. It's around the production of ideas. It's around the legitimacy to convene and the stability that universities also have within ecosystems. So if we take the MIT stakeholder model, there are two bodies in that who have a degree of stability beyond perhaps the others, being the universities and government. And we know governments in some parts of the world can change fairly rapidly, leaders of governments can change fairly rapidly. Other governments don't change so quickly. But universities play a critical role in perhaps providing some stability, but also in doing many of the things that Abdullah's outlined here. Thinking about it, of course, universities are all really quite different as well. This is my university that I work at. I've been there for 9 years now, Queensland University of Technology. This is how we describe our role generally. This is our vision, to be the university for the real world. It has been our ambition, has been our vision in the time that we have been a university, in the 30 plus years we've been a university, and we're still quite a young university despite predecessor organisations. What's our purpose? What's our strategy? What are our values in how we deliver that? And then the priorities that the university has. And you can see in those, the university for the real world, a value of innovation, and then a priority of entrepreneurship. We take quite seriously our role in being a critical part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And, it's not a small role in the state of Queensland. There are multiple universities, but we sit in Brisbane alongside the University of Queensland and Griffith University, which are of similar sizes. We all have 50,000 or so plus students, predominantly undergraduates, so it'll be a 2/3, 1/3 split of undergraduate, postgraduate. We will have staff of 12,000 people or thereabouts, some order like that. And at QUT we have 350,000 alumni. So we have a significant role to play just literally with the amount of people. It is a city that we are working with here as an institution. So my job is a really interesting job as a Pro-Vice-Chancellor Entrepreneurship. My job is literally to build an entrepreneurial environment within the institution that then provides different things for different parts of that city that we are part of. And I took, I suppose, as my inspiration in building that, because I have built what we do at QUT over the last 6 or 7 years. There was no entrepreneurial intent at the university when I first started there, and so I've been very entrepreneurial in gathering the resources that we need. But we have taken the definition of entrepreneurship to be the pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources you currently control. We work predominantly with students. We are not a start-up factory. That's not our job as a university. Our job is as a learning institution. So we work with learners, whether they are students. We also work with staff as researchers or professional staff. We work with alumni. And our job is to help them understand what entrepreneurship, what an entrepreneurial mindset can do, how it operates, what are the capabilities of an entrepreneur, and then how that can amplify the work that they do. And that is literally it. Should they choose to start a startup, knock themselves out, we will support them. Should they choose to build a project within an organisation in which they work, be it our own or another, we will support them. Should they choose to solve a social problem that is never monetised, that is never scaled beyond the very local, of course we will support people, because entrepreneurship, pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources you currently control. And that's what we do. So my team, and I have a member of my team here in Vibor, we have a small team of professional staff in QUT Entrepreneurship. We get shit done. We seek to inspire...
Just to say, I love that.
We seek to inspire and amplify opportunities for students, staff and alumni to realise their entrepreneurial capability and their ambitions. how do you as an individual want to make change in the world? How do we use the principles of entrepreneurship in order to help you do that? And then how do we, help you make that happen? So we run the QT Entrepreneurship team sits in the extracurricular space. So we work voluntarily with students. They come to us, with staff, with alumni. We connect people across the community and we empower that next generation of entrepreneurs. And we do it because, entrepreneurship is about accelerating careers, helping people build the life they want to have, run it in the way they want to do it. How do they create opportunity? So we focus a lot on the attitude, so that entrepreneurial mindset, a growth mindset, emotional intelligence. You cannot build a business or you cannot solve a problem if you don't know who you are and what you're willing to give, to take, what you want to achieve. So we start with the individual and then build from that. We look at the knowledge that's needed, and of course that sits alongside the degree programs generally, and then specifically there are degree programs for entrepreneurship at all levels, undergraduate through to PhD. And then we look at practice, and there are many ways in which we engage in practice, and most of that's through partnerships with others, because that's the way the world works, in partnership. Of course, we play a role as well out in the community. Again, that convening role of universities. So in a partnership with Advanced Queensland, which is the innovation policy, the people who deliver innovation in Queensland, it's $1 billion investment that the Queensland government has made in innovation and entrepreneurship. We partner with Advanced Queensland to deliver a project that we developed through our participation in the MIT REAP program. So we run a program called Queensland Connects, where we work with regions to help them build innovation ecosystems, but work with them where they're at in the multi-stakeholder groups to understand the comparative advantage of a particular region and then use that to amplify what they have and solve the problem that they might have. So we've worked with regions around livability, we've worked with regions around bioeconomy, manufacturing, all sorts of things. And, in those years, what we've been able to do is bring it together. And, this year we were awarded Entrepreneurial University of the Year for Asia Pacific through the EEE program. So, it's a way at my job, which is an exciting job, is to pull those parts together, but then push out into the region as well. Thank you.
Marina, thank you very much. We're just going to
Keep going.
hand that on to Sunday. Back here for this. A 2-second delay. There we go. Fantastic. Sunday, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much once again for having me. The role of universities in development of entrepreneurial ecosystem. I must say very clearly that the university is in the center of all of it. If we must build a dependable entrepreneurial ecosystem, it's a place where, our knowledge is built and where, our people tend to look at things that do not really concern them, but that will benefit the society. So one of the things I did first of all was to look at what the entrepreneurial ecosystem entails, what it means, and what we should look at when we talk about it. And I call it the science of entrepreneurial ecosystem. That is the way we've understood it and the way we've been doing it in the University of Lagos. So the first thing is the fact that you see it as an interconnected network, comprises of individuals, startups, firms. Something is that I want to pay attention to the problem creators. if we do not have those people that probably do not really take attention of the environment, and that they do not pay very significant attention to preserving the ecosystem in our environment, probably we would not even, have thriving entrepreneurs, because thriving entrepreneurs provide solutions to most of the problems that are created by people who at times probably do not understand how to collectively preserve the ecosystem, the environment, and you begin to see all manners of solution coming on board to them. So those people are very important in the ecosystem, and the solution providers who are, the entrepreneurs that give tech solution, digital solutions, food solution, even some environmental solution, things that will make our society very better. And again, what it entails to innovation drive, it entails, value creation and share values. It's very important for us to understand that the science of entrepreneurial ecosystem is dependent on people bringing on more value, sharing value, having what they bring to the society, and the society offer, value in terms of, procuring their solution to solve their own problem. And that same ecosystem comprises researchers and universities. These are the guys who sit in there who study the problems that do not concern their family. But those problems, that concern the society. Our solutions, can come into place to solve many issues and many things in the society. Policy and government, NGOs, are equally part of this ecosystem. It's important for us to be able to understand who are the players in this ecosystem so that we're able to develop a good ecosystem in our own society. The innovative ventures are those ventures that are, as I will look at them at, social entrepreneurs, those ones are very particular about how the society problem can be solved by those people living in those society, how they can get value in solving those problems. And they solve those problems, profitably. And many of the people that want to make their life very beautiful and outstanding by being innovative with what they do. Again, for you to have an ecosystem that is very strong and that is very, very sustainable, it must be an ecosystem that fosters entrepreneurial endeavors of every stakeholders. Everybody that participates must be able to see value in it. The government must see value that when we support this system, people are going to pay taxes. The society must see value in the fact that, okay, when you bring on board this innovative product, then we're going to solve our society value. Even the innovator too must see the value in it that, okay, when I invest my time into this innovation, somebody is going to pay for it. So the moment you foster entrepreneurial endeavor, then you'll be able to create a sustainable, ecosystem. And the last one that I said, when you look at the science of, entrepreneurial ecosystem, is what I call the collective opportunities to create commonwealth. Because, when you have a sustainable ecosystem, definitely, you create a commonwealth for everyone. When you listen to what I've said the other time, everybody is able to benefit within that system. And that is what my university, the University of Lagos, has tried, to do in this regard. Okay, so when you look at it and ask the question that what are the expected roles of university in this area, this is what my university has done too, and I think for every meaningful university is supposed to do is to be to provide the entrepreneurial knowledge and dissemination of those knowledge creation, and ensure that they get to market. My university discovered that many researchers have been on the chair for many of the faculty members for long, and that was when we decided about 5 years ago to begin to ensure that we integrate entrepreneurship completely into the system in the university and take research to market. That is one of the things university is supposed to do. The researches that have been done within the university system, and able to support some of those entrepreneurs outside there to take whatever they've actually developed, to support them in a manner that they can see a market opportunity in that. University is supposed to be the intellectual software and the capital of entrepreneurial ecosystem. University is supposed to think for the entrepreneurs. It's supposed to think for the society. It's supposed to see the problem that, that has commercial orientation. It's supposed to see that problem that someone can begin to make a great investment into. That's what universities, and that's what we do in University of Lagos. University is supposed to be the technical know-how infrastructure for startup, because knowledge is brewed in the university, environment. It's supposed to be that technical know-how for all entrepreneurs, so that they can come in there and tap into that. University is supposed to support technology transfer, connect researchers and campus startup to investor. It's one of those things that the university is supposed to do, and that's what we're doing at our technology management office under the relationship with the Entrepreneurship Center too in the University of Lagos. And again, more importantly, there is the fact that university is supposed to be a conduit to funding and investment network. I put in here, which is one of the things out of my study, that funders at times, they come through for many entrepreneurs that have been supported by the university, because they believe that, okay, you'll have done this, the output of this entrepreneur is coming out of a very solid research that the university has been able to stamp. So that again is very, very important for university to deliver. And I did ask a question that why are this, arose critical at this point in time? And I want you to look at this, if you can see very well, the global income distribution by the world region. For us in Africa, this is very important for us that entrepreneurship become our life now. It's very important. In the developed world, you solve a lot of problems, but we're solving a lot of problems today in Africa. And when you look at this, global income distribution, you see that the sub-Saharan Africa it's not, it's not favored in this, because of the fact that almost, if you take a $30, if you look at it, to be a very good standard of living for people, then it looks as if the entirety of sub-Saharan Africa is living, in abject poverty. So you could look at that, and it is very, very important for us to close that gap. And how can we do that? It is through entrepreneurship. It is by looking inward into Africa and see what are convertible to profitable business venture and what solution we can bring about at every point in time. So, and that is why my university, this is what we do in my university. Today, all courses in my university have been converted to entrepreneurship. That started with me. So if you're doing chemistry, I call it chemipreneurship. If you're doing engineering, I call it enginepreneurship. If you're doing law, I call it lawpreneurship. And my university vice chancellor understood that. I'm saying, it's so important for you to finish and start looking for someone that will employ you. Why can't you look at the society before you get out of this university and have a solution that can push out into the society for you? So I get a lot of angel investor. One of them, Tom, is here, an amazing person doing a great job in Africa to support us when we have students that have, fantastic investment, so that this angel investor can invest into them. You could see what we've done. We've done amazingly well in that space. We've trained 15,000 students. We've had 40 major entrepreneurship programs done in 5 years. We have more than 100 startups that have been seed funded from my ecosystem. I have a solid, very big incubation hub in the University of Lagos. Now in the University of Lagos, every student compulsorily must have like a second degree in entrepreneurship. We call it ABIC, Entrepreneurship Innovation and Business Certification Program. Very compulsory. You can now have it in different layers. And there are rewards for different layers to have. And we have decision where we're going in 2025. We're looking at the possibility of even having a startup that will be sold for 1 billion, in the year 2025. We have them, if you look at it, we have them in their categories. We're thinking of having a unicorn by 2025, and we're on that pathway. So one of the things we want to do is to ensure the fact that we solve this problem of unemployment right away from inside the university. So we and why are we doing that? We look at the word of Thomas Huxley that has a quote that they were saying, the medieval university looked backwards. It professed to be a storehouse of old knowledge. But we are looking forward as a modern university, and we are saying it's a factory of new knowledge. And that factory of new knowledge is to do what? Is to ensure that we democratize entrepreneurship in all disciplines. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, so my apologies. You've got four people who basically speak for a living, so we've slightly gone over time, but we're going to try and take as many questions from what is now almost a full room as we can. So we'll try and ask you to keep questions short if you can, or comments that are very welcome. This is not suggesting that we have all the answers, so anything that's out there is good. You've had three different takes on the role of universities, with some interesting points being highlighted by each of our speakers in putting emphasis on slightly different places. Who would like to ask them or a question, or would like to make a point? Please, if you wouldn't mind going first, press the red button as you're on here and just tell us your name and where you're from before you start.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Sabrina Nagel and I'm from New Zealand. Thank you so much. It was really insightful, and I loved also how you set the scene at the beginning, so thank you. My question is a quick one for Sunday. Do I understand correctly that you just said you're introducing that every student has to do a compulsory second degree in entrepreneurship?
Okay. It came about so let me give you some data. Nigeria is about 270 million people personally, and between age 15 to 35 comprises of 67% of Nigeria. So that's about 140 million youth, and about 43% of that are unemployed. So, and we need close to like 10 million jobs every year for the next 10 years to get them employed. And we discovered that we're only able to create, 1 million or less, in a year. So deficit of 9 million every year. So the question is for us to do a reverse engineering and to now ask questions. Okay, what do we need to do? There are a whole lot of, how many can the multinational, employ? Very few. So we can begin to get the students now to create this job before they leave the university. If they do not understand how to convert engineering to entrepreneurship, they will not be able to do it. If they do not understand how to convert chemistry into entrepreneurship, they will not be able to do it. So the first thing we did was to get all the professors from our faculties properly trained and certified in what we call the AMEC program, Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Mentorship Educational Certification Program. So if you're a professor of medicine, we've trained you in my center to get you to understand entrepreneurship so that you go into the medical school and teach them how they can start a career in entrepreneurship and not looking for ways to get them employed. I'll give you an example. If you look at me today, it's one of my students that did all of this for me. A mathematics student, when he came in here, when I said funded him with just 100,000 naira, and he went through my incubation of today. He does this and sent to Canada. Nigerians are everywhere. And the shoes in my leg too is done by one of them, Zenicraft. So this is what we've done. And those guys have, before they left the university, they got like, Zenicraft got like 10% employed. Pretty Fit now has gotten a design academy where many students are doing that. So we've solved the unemployment for those people. So therefore, the university saw the reason why it needs to be compulsory for everyone, so that at the end of the day, your evenings, they're supposed to be for you. You're using it to study days. And by the time you're done, you're happy for it. And it's been working. And we're trying to ensure that the entire nation, takes that up so that, we can fight we can fight unemployment by using entrepreneurship.
Okay, that will be the longest answer we get to any question. Let's go. We're gonna speed it up. Sir, here, please.
Hello, my name is Marcos from Prendo, an incubator, a business incubator linked to a university in Ecuador. No? So my question is about the role of a university investing in startups. No? Some of you talk about that, but we have had already a few big failures creating spin-offs. I want to know your point of view about how to face the challenges.
Okay. So just the issues and the challenges of in universities investing. One of you want to take that, and then I'll make a comment as well with some of the data that we've done. Marina, went to the microphone first.
As a university, we don't invest in startups. I mean, I'm talking on the student side here. It's not our job to pick winners between students. Our job is to provide them with the learning resources they can, put to ventures. Slightly different on the commercialisation side of the university and the way in which the university will invest and support the development of IP to make it investable by others outside the institution, and that varies across. But yeah, it might be controversial to say. No, our job is not to pick winners amongst students.
So just as a counterpoint to that, within the UK, you'd find that most of the large universities now have multiple funds. So the institutions themselves don't normally invest. That isn't the role of the university, but they will have raised money to either invest directly in research-based spin-offs, and many will increasingly have funds, some of which are competitive but are prize-based, some of which are equity-based, to invest in student or external startups as well. There's a very wide range of activities, and in fact, there's more coming. One of the things that universities can do, and Rowena used a word earlier that's extremely important in this, is convening. You can convene your university community, your alumni, the people who want to work with you, who want to do something for that university, who can be brought together to invest in appropriate companies, in whether that's spin-outs or staff, without the university having to directly participate. Sorry, there's a gentleman here, please.
Okay, I'm Dr. Orotov from Ethiopia, the origin of human being. I'm a trainer. I've so far developed 13 books in the area of entrepreneurship and business development.
Okay.
I have participated so far in 5 global entrepreneurship congresses and visited several countries to collect best experiences on entrepreneurship development in the world. And we are trying to have one of the best business schools in Ethiopia so that we'll have a lot of entrepreneurs to nourish our country. Our challenge is the ecosystem. It's very clear. Mainly the methodology and the lecturers, the educators. Most universities are owned by the public sector. Very recently, private colleges arise. But the methodology, the experience is not so far existing in our country. It's even in very infant stage. And I want to ask Madam, the experience of all stakeholders in the role of developing universities to have even fund of their own. Our universities are public and they are getting their budget from the government. They are not self-financing. How are your universities self-financing? And whose role is mainly in the development of this part?
Do you want to have first go, or would you like me to?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, it's all quite different. In Australia, what have we got? 42 universities, all but 2 are public funded, 2 private institutions. So the way in which universities earn their income is through teaching, and that's a highly regulated process. When it comes to teaching entrepreneurship, I'm sure Baden probably agrees with me as well, there are limits to what can happen in a classroom in a degree program. When I started at my university, the school that I ran at the time, we taught entrepreneurship. But we taught students to look at it and say, oh, it's shaped like this, it operates like that, it's this colour, it's, this size. This is the theory of it. And we turn that around to say, well, actually, if we have a go at it, let's have a go, let's try it, let's build something, and then we'll have a look at why does it work in that way? What else could we have done differently? And so a lot of the curriculum that happens a lot of the activity that happens outside the curriculum is funded by the university. It's all about experience. Let's engage in some experiential learning, and then let's retrofit the theory to it so that we know why it happened like it did and what we do next time.
And I just echo the point generally, in the UK, all but one in England anyway, universities are are public. It isn't necessarily the connection. One thing that universities are very good at doing is giving people a reason to do some work or come back and work with people without it always being financial. One of the pieces of work that was done by the Legatum Institute, again out of MIT, but through their Africa work, was the ability to encourage universities in much of sub-Saharan Africa who had alumni or had people that were in their own network who had been working overseas to come back, and where the university would recognize them with maybe something that was good for their, I want to say good for their ego, but I mean it in a nice way, right? Maybe a visiting professorship or some form of post that meant that they would come back, and it wasn't always about the money, but they grew the ecosystem through the experience of people from some of their own students who had gone elsewhere and then brought it back and had brought back funds so they might invest or in other ways help to develop those ecosystems. Universities are really good places to use to draw people back to the communities that you need them to be in, as well as the training that you set them off with at the start of life. I'm conscious there's a couple of hands and I don't know which order they went up in. So if I get this wrong, that one with the book or that one with the book? That one with the book. Who's already stood up? Right. He's going it because he's basically branded and he stood up. And then I'll go to the lady at the back in a second. There we go. Please.
My name is Aaron. I'm with UTS Startups at the University of Technology, Sydney. My question is about entrepreneurial job creation. And do you have any advice or do you know any examples of universities supporting or tracking entrepreneurial job creation, specifically students starting up startups and then starting to earn money from that, either for themselves as the founder or for their startup team?
Short version, yes, there's lots of those that we can do. There's individual universities. I don't know if you do that in as well?
Yeah, exactly. We have to look first of all to what is the economic or what is the society they need. So we try to encourage the students. For instance, we have in Oman, we promote the students in order to think about some things related to the services and some things related to what is the Oman Vision 2040. So for instance, we need to promote the students for the industrial, which has a contribution to the economy, especially in the non-oil sector. So for instance, in the food security, for instance, we have to promote the students in order to think about that, as this is one of the welcoming sector. And we try to encourage the students. We have some good cases and good examples of that.
And just say that in the UK, also in Sweden, there are national surveys that take place 3 years, 5 years, 10 years out of what all students are doing, which are then used to model what happened from individual institutions. But again, a lot of it comes down to a university's ability to follow their alumni. The lady at the back who was trying quite hard. There we go. Yes, please.
How do universities balance their role in fostering entrepreneurship while addressing the issue of intellectual property rights? And specifically, how can universities maintain a supportive environment for engagement in entrepreneurship while ensuring that leaders like researchers and external contractors are fairly compensated and that their IP rights are protected? And I ask this specifically because I was recently engaged by university to develop some training and to facilitate the program. But when I asked about IP rights, they said that it would be shared IP, but I'm only being paid for facilitation. So it wasn't actually fair. So obviously universities have very powerful institutions. So how do we balance that?
I can give you a survey answer in a minute, but I'll ask one of my colleagues who would like to pick this up. Sunny?
Let me pick that up in my university. One of the things we've done is that university truly we share IP with faculty and students, depending on the amount of time involved in developing such innovation. Or the resources of the university are involved in developing that. So it's a policy in the Technology Management Office whereby, university, we have to look at how some of these percentages ranging from university having from 5% to maximum of 15%. So depending on how involvement of the university in creating that innovation. So it's based on university to university, depending on what their policy is. That's our own policy.
Okay. In most of the sort of traditional Commonwealth models, because of the answer to this depends on what is the national law around intellectual property and what policies have governments put in place. The basic rules of thumb in probably at least the 20 or 30 of the areas I've operated in for students. At undergraduate level, you are taught. That means that there was no new intellectual property created. That's the definition of a taught undergraduate program. So anything that's an original IP must, by definition, be the students. If it's in a research environment, so you're doing a PhD, then that is the support that's given for new innovation, new intellectual property, which tends to mean that there is an ownership model that will involve the university or the state or the funder over the individual. Well, your example sounded more like one that would be covered by a teaching model, where depending on exactly where you are, your original IP would actually be the instructors or the deliverer of IP rather than the institutions. But if you want to talk about any of those, we can talk about them afterwards. Okay, we have time for half a question before Matt tells me he's got to be in this next session. So what's the shortest? Who reckons they've got the shortest question? Are you sure? Okay, lady, is it a comment or a question? Okay, fine. Yeah, lady behind you, and then we'll see if we're going to do that. Yeah.
But my experience is that most of these professors have the know-it-all attitude, and so it's very hard to get them.
So to three academics who none of whom necessarily started with this is what they wanted to do.
Yeah, it was very easy for me at my university. The first thing I did was to use 2 years to convince the ecosystem that this is the way to go. You can imagine you pushing through the Senate of a university that there must be a second degree for everybody. There's somebody doing medicine, we have to do it. But they saw that example in 2 years, so by the time we welcomed them for that training, and they've seen that, it was easy for me at my university. And the first set of teachers that went through that training, many of them started creating their own startup, professors. So that became... So in my university today, you walk across to me and say, why didn't you select me for that program? Because I saw Professor Samuel has started doing so and so. So maybe I did 2 years to ensure the fact that I could have something to show to the university that is possible. Afterwards, it was easy for us to put the professor in there. And we've created our ecosystem.
Thank you very much. We have a big red light here that says time exceeded. So I'd like to say thank you very much for all making it here after the gala dinner last night. If you're now putting your hands together to say thank you to Abdullah, Rowena, and Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your conference and have a very good trip home, wherever that may be. Thank you.